got Mitch on now. Okay, I'm about to figure out how it works. This is my first time on here. Hold on. Uh-oh. How do I do it? Did I do it? Oh, here we go.
Am I on?
Hello.
Hello, hello. First of all, I want to apologize. I got caught up in a phone call that just why it went left. I mean, a good phone call, but I
Okay.
most definitely apologize to anyone who's on here listening. Most definitely apologize to you.
Okay. It's no problem. It's no problem. So how you doing today?
I'm
Oops.
doing
My
great. How you
bad.
doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
That's good. That's good. That's
I
good.
can't complain.
There you go. That's a winner right there.
I'm almost like an hour and 30 minutes through the documentary. I wanted to say it is phenomenal. It really
I most
is.
definitely I appreciate that's my first time capturing a DC story like that, and I most definitely appreciate it.
Yeah. I mean, you had very great points. I respected that you included Marion Barry and his legacy and respecting it. I definitely um
I
I
mean, what
definitely enjoyed
happened? He was Myron Burr. I mean, we've all made mistakes in our lives, and
yeah.
as someone mentioned in the
Right.
documentary, we shouldn't shame him because of that one mistake. Because he was still, even after that mistake, he was still helping people. He done more for people even when he made a mistake than people who didn't make any mistakes. So he's very well
I
respected and
agree.
always be a legend.
I agree. I agree. And he always gave me positivity too anytime I seen him. So
Yeah,
I
definitely.
definitely respect him wholeheartedly. And with the summer jobs as well, it really gave me
Exactly.
something positive to do. So
Exactly. And it was so funny the first time I met him when I was 18 years old. And it was funny because at the time I was 18, I was working the summer job programs previously before that, but this was my first year in college. And I didn't have thoughts of joining the police department or anything. It was so funny. I was working at an apartment complex down in Southwest. I forgot the
okay.
name of the apartment, but I was a midnight receptionist. And every Saturday night he would come there, and I didn't really pay attention to who he was. So one day I stopped him because all these security guys kept coming up and they was posting up in the lobby. They act like they were Secret Service. So me being 18, I was nosy, and I was like, "Who are you guys? What are y'all doing?" I said, He has to come sign the guest book." So he came and signed the guest book, but they just wanted to shut me up. So he signed the name. I didn't pay attention to. I still didn't know who the guy was. So then the
Uh-huh.
next Saturday he came back. That's when the cleanup guy told me that's the mayor, and I'm like, the damn mayor. What the hell the mayor doing at 2 o'clock in the morning? I mean, he had a little game with them. I'm like, why is the mayor
Uh-huh.
doing it at 2 o'clock in the morning? So when the guys came back, I stopped them. So when he came back over there, I said, you need to sign the book and put your real name in this book. So he looked at me like I was crazy. And I'm like, you need to put your real name in this book. So the security guys were police officers. They were detectives. And they told me to mind my business. I need to be quiet and everything. So they brushed me off and everything. But years later, when I joined the police department, I saw those same detectives, and I introduced myself to them, and they remember that night, and they told me they wanted to kick my ass because it was so funny. That was the first time I ever met Murray.
Wow. Wow. I bet that was funny.
Yeah,
That is
it was
daring.
hilarious. It was hilarious because I ended up working with some of the guys who wanted to kick my ass that night.
Okay, so what inspired the film?
What inspired the film was in 2017. Well, I've been working with young people all my adult life. But in 2017, I started a nonprofit called Safe House Films DC after I retired. And in that program, we teach film production, financial literacy, entrepreneurship, alternative violence, and just a whole bunch of things dealing with young people. So in 2017, I was with a group of kids, and I started asking them about DC history. And all they kept doing was glorifying Rayful
Right.
Edmonds, Wayne Perry,
Right.
Alpo, and they couldn't go into no conversations about anything. That was it. And the fact that they were glorifying it was sort of kind of disturbing to me.
Yeah.
So I sort of like brushed it off. So in 2018, when I did the same thing again, but in 2017, we were housed in Trinity College in 5D. But in 2018, they put me in Ward 8, and they gave me 100 Ward 8 youth.
Mm.
So, we built a rapport. We didn't have any problems, but I started asking them the same questions, and they
Right.
did the same thing.
Right.
Glorifying Rayful,
Right.
Wayne, Alpo. So I'm sitting here going over some of the DC's history, and they weren't aware of anything. They didn't know anyone. They didn't know anything. And I knew the young people watch a lot of YouTube.
Right.
So that's when I said, you know what? And that's when I started filming the documentary in 2018, right after that summer. I said, I'm going to put a story together that can help these young people know more about DC than just Wayne, Alpo,
Right.
and Rayful. But of course, I had to at least mention Rayful. I wasn't even going to mention Wayne, but one of the guys in
Mm-hmm.
the story mentioned Wayne. But yeah, I just want them just to know something because they don't know anything. I mean,
Yeah, they
I don't
don't.
know. They don't. I mean, I'm just gonna leave it at that. You have to almost research in order to find out things about DC. Because I mean, years ago we would always talk about a lot of the things that went on before us when I was
Mm-hmm.
their age. I knew a lot about what happened before I came up, but for some
Right.
reason, when I was a young guy, maybe technology took over. I don't know what it was. They just didn't know much of anything.
And I felt this the same way. I felt very disturbed hearing them, the excitement about murder and the
Yeah.
excitement behind committing crimes, hurting people, whatever the case is. And that's why I built my platform as well.
Yeah.
I wanted to show and give an example because I come from Southeast DC.
Mhm.
So I wanted to give an example that everybody ain't focused on the wrong things. And I
Yeah.
want to know the history.
Mhm.
And I want to know the people that came before me.
Mm-hmm. You're right. And I just wanted the point to get across. That's why I put some of the families in there. I don't want them glorifying and celebrating murder and drugs.
Right.
Yeah, and that was one of the reasons why I had the guys and the ladies in the film talk about certain things. I wanted everybody to be truthful. I
Yeah, it
know it's
was
gonna
very
be
honest.
I know it's gonna be sad, but at the
Hmm.
end I gave all of them the opportunity to speak how they feel towards talking to the police as well as talking to the young people.
And I respect that. I respect the honesty that's in the film. I didn't feel like anybody was glorifying it, which was refreshing. It was very refreshing.
Mhm.
Okay, so is the street culture worth being preserved in a historical way? Can there be lessons? There's always lessons to me.
Yeah, always. I totally agree. And the thing about it, the street culture will always be a part of any urban environment history. I
Yeah.
mean, like right now, DC is going through gentrification, and I hate to say it this way, but the gentrifiers are benefiting from a lot of the pain and suffering and bad mistakes that a lot of us made during my era,
Hmm.
and that should not be buried because DC is different now. I'm quite sure other urban environments young people can still learn from that because like right now today, there's a new thing with carjacking and
Yeah.
and robberies because there's no money out there. I mean, something's going
Hmm.
to always go on in an urban environment that's going to be related to the street culture. So we can't act like it's going anywhere and we can't erase it.
Yeah. And we can't not talk about it. We have to
Exactly.
discuss it.
And just by you saying that, I have a 14-year-old daughter, honor roll, A student,
Great.
smart as a whip. But I want her to know what's going on the streets
Oh, yeah,
because I
she
don't want
has
her
to.
walk. Yeah, I don't want her walking around lollygagging on her phone, not paying attention to her
Mm.
environment. So you have to use those things that goes on even with kids is not even in those cultures. I mean, you have
Hmm.
to.
Yeah, you do. As a pure example. Because it's,
Exactly.
it's very easy to get consumed. I can say that. I've seen it so many times. And it should be, the farthest thing from a goal.
Yeah. I totally agree. And like with my older daughter, she grew up with a lot of the guys in that era. She's down now. I'm so old. I don't even know how old she. How old is she? About late 30s, something like that. But
Okay.
the point I'm trying to make is that I didn't shelter her from that environment. Because even when I used to coach Boys and Girls Club years ago, when she was born, she was a baby. I let the young girls in the neighborhood babysit for me. I
Oh,
brought her into that environment because I didn't want her growing up not knowing that the hood exists, what goes
right.
on in it. So she grew up with it. But what it did was, as she got older and as she started growing, she started being selective of the men she wanted to date.
Mm.
She didn't want to date guys from that environment because she knew where that would lead her. I didn't want her to be fascinated because so many girls
Yeah.
from the suburbs used to be fascinated by that stuff, you
And
know?
still are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
It's so weird.
when my daughter went to college at Temple for her first year, so many girls who were sheltered were getting pregnant. They was dropping out of
Mm.
school, falling in love with everybody. But she was so street savvy, even though wasn't in that environment. She was so street savvy because I took her around it and she learned who not to deal with. And she wasn't putting people down. It's just she wanted a better selection of the man that she wanted for her life. And
Yeah.
that's what I wanted her to I didn't want her to fall in love with somebody that I was going to end up locking up for murder. I didn't want
Okay.
that to occur. No,
Yeah. That's not a life to live for sure.
exactly.
Okay. I had a few questions. So what was the hardest part about your job as a detective?
Oh my God. Woo. The hardest part for me was to, at all times, maintaining who I was. And I say that because I was dead right smack in the middle. I was close to as many guys who were committing the murders as I was the people who were being murdered. Like for an example, if I got a murder case, um, and then while I'm on the scene, somebody might give me a name or whatever, and I knew who the person was who just committed the murder. So what I used to do was I used to go to them. I used to go to the person who committed the murder off the books, and I say, look,
Okay.
dude. I say, look, man, don't say anything. I said, I'm not wearing a recorder, but just in case, don't say anything. If you think I'm wrong, I said, I picked up the case the other day. Unfortunately, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna give you time to get your affairs together. If you want to
Mm.
come in and talk about it beforehand, you can do all this. You can do that. I say, but I'm just being honest with you. I caught the case, and you'll be seeing me real soon. And I did that for reasons because a lot of times, which a lot of people don't understand, is that a lot of times people commit murder because they're about to be murdered themselves.
Mm.
It happens,
Yeah.
and just being from that environment, I know that. And so I would go to, when I used to hear rumors about why someone did something, I would go to them and see if they want to explain why they did what they did, because it's a big difference from getting 5 to 10 from getting 30 to life. It's a
Yeah.
big difference. Or if you did it in self-defense, because like in the perfect example I use for a lot of people is that one day, you probably too young to remember this, but there was a case up at Parkview Playground where this one guy shot this guy 9 times in the back and ended up
Mm.
getting off. And what happened was, the week before that occurred, the person who ended up murdering had murdered someone else. So this is the first time I ever seen this in my life. Him and his attorney came down to the grand jury. I reached out to him. He said, Mitch, I was scared. He said, if I would
Mm.
have let him get to that car, he would have murdered me. And
Yeah.
he told the truth. So he went down to the grand jury and told the grand jury, yes, I committed the murder. Yes, I killed him. Yes, I wanted to make sure he was dead, because if he would have got to that car, I would have been dead. That was the first time I ever seen anyone do that. And the grand jury did not indict him. They only charged him with carrying a pistol without a license. And he beat the murder
Mm.
because the person who ended up killing had done a couple other murders prior to that incident. And he said that's self-defense in the hood. But a lot of guys in these communities who face those obstacles they come in with the attitude, I wasn't there.
Right.
I didn't do it. I wasn't there. So
Yeah.
every person who trusted me or believed me when I told them I really wanted to know what happened or I already knew what happened, and they came in and talked to me, even though they committed murder, they only did 5, 6, 10. None of them done over 10 years because they were telling the truth. They did it for whatever reason, what their reasons were, and some got off on self-defense or manslaughter or something. But the ones who said they weren't there, they end up doing 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of them just getting out because they said they were not there.
Right.
But in DC, everybody's carrying a gun, and it's I'm not trying to take anything away from nobody's family member, but there are a lot of people who are innocent, who are murdered innocently, and there are a lot of people who get caught up in stuff and they're murdered and it wasn't even expected. But in some cases in DC, a lot of people murder because they feel as though they were going to be murdered.
Yeah. I agree. I definitely agree. Hmm.
And I think that was the hardest part of my job because I have to talk to, but I'm always honest with families. I let them, what's going on. And I told them I'm not the one to make the decisions on how much time a person is going to do. But I told them I'm going to get the person who did murder their loved one. And I tell them what the circumstances were. And, I just be honest with everybody because I don't make the ultimate decisions. I'm there just to do my job. As long as I'm there just to do my job and not to do more than just my job, I'm not violating anybody's rights. I'm playing by the book. And I think people respect me because I was honest about how I did my job. I didn't have anything to hide. I mean, what occurred?
Yeah.
What occurred. And that's why I still get along with a lot of people. And like 2 guys in the documentary, they committed murder. And I remember them. Matter of fact, one of them I even charged for murder when he was 16 years old on a separate
Wow.
case. So I'm I'm a straight shooter, and I have to be me because I'm like this. And my thing with families is that a lot of these families trusted me with their young sons as a basketball coach. So why not trust me as a police or as a detective as well?
Yeah. I agree. I agree. And it needs to be more like you so that we know that you have a level of empathy, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
you have to.
still a straight shooter, like you said, saying things straight up that we can understand and not leave, with a jaded feeling.
Yeah, and yeah, and that's just how I was. Like even when because I used to party a lot. Oh my God, good God mine. I used to go to the clubs, and I would go to the same clubs where they would be. They popping bottles, I'm popping bottles, and it's almost like it was like you all got the little drug boy money. I have government money,
Right, yeah.
But I knew how to go to the club owner, introduce myself, tell them who I was. Can I have a place for my friends? Can we do this? Can we do that? They introduce me to the bartender. So I'm doing things in a professional manner. They wasting money, splitting money. I'm getting
Yeah.
bottles. I'm getting bottles for 25, 30, $40, and they spend hundreds and hundreds all because I
Yeah.
did it the right way. But I just wanted them to know that I was just as human as they were. So I interacted and partied in the same environments that they partied in. And when there was like threats against me and things like that, I went to those locations and those functions just to let them know that your little baby threat don't scare me because I wasn't going to be the type of police officer or detective who showed some type of fear. Because when
Yeah,
you
I was
show
going to ask you
fear,
that.
when you show, it's like a dog. Think about it. When a dog know you're afraid of them, they're going to attack you.
Yeah, it's
But you
true.
stand up against it, they're going to think twice about it. So my thing is like this. When I leave this joint, it's going to be up to God. It ain't going to be up to some street dude. So I didn't care about that. I partied with them. I messed around with their girls. I did all that stuff. I didn't care. I mean, it was part of the game. And I just wanted everybody to know I just happen to be a police officer. I just happen to be a detective, and it's just my job.
Was
And
it hard
some
for any of your peers personally to get past that?
Yeah, I got called into eternal fast a few times about my relationships with people, and
Okay.
my simple answer was, "What happened to police community relationships?"
Right.
I have to know the community. But one thing
Yeah.
I admit about the upper brass of the police department, they never stopped me because everything I did, it was in good faith. You know, police. I did volunteer work at the Police Boys and Girls Club for 30 something years, whatever. So everything I did was basically giving them a good name, and they trusted me. They knew I knew what line to cross and what line not to cross. And being a police officer, you're in the community. You can't help it. I mean,
Yeah.
I used to love, like if I chase, like say for an example, I may chase a drug boy. I couldn't catch him. He got away because I wasn't that damn fast. So they got away. So what I would do is, because I got to know the grandmothers and the mothers in the community,
Mm-hmm.
I would go over their house. I'd be in their house eating dinner with their grandmothers in
Uh-oh.
police uniform, and they walking in, and I used to be like,
Uh-oh.
"Yeah, I know where you live. I know where you live." So, but even though I didn't do anything to them, it helped me build relationships with guys on the streets. Because
Right.
I'm like, I couldn't catch you the other day. I'm not going to bother you today because I'm eating dinner with your grandma right now. But
Right.
next time I'm gonna get you.
Okay.
So it built a relationship, and even though I didn't get them, but it just helped show them that I was just as slick as they were, and I used to have fun. And this just kind of relationship I had with people. I wanted to know their families, and they said as a police officer, someone told me in the police academy that you're not Superman. You are as good as the community makes you.
Yeah.
That was the model I wanted to take.
I agree. I think that more, I don't know if it's detectives because I haven't really spoke to detectives in my life,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like it's more on the police side where they I mean, you take it serious, sure, but it's almost like to me growing up, it was like they wasn't human, you
Yeah,
know?
it changed. It changed. And
Yeah.
tell you why it changed? Because they start hiring outside of the city. I'm not
Mm.
taking. There are some good ones that come from outside the city, but when you're hiring a lot of people who are not from the environment where they're policing, they don't know a lot of the cultures. Like when I used to drive up on the block, and I see there's a family dispute, or I see there's a domestic dispute. I knew who, I knew why, I
Right.
knew I knew it was going to escalate to a certain point. I knew I didn't have to draw my gun on Bobo, who was walking around in circles going crazy, who's
Right.
being aggressive. I knew he wasn't going to hit his girlfriend. I knew he wasn't going to hit his mother. So we knew those things because we knew the families. We knew how people were. But when you pull into the block and you don't know them things, now that person is a threat.
Mm.
So now the police officer, oh shit. So now
Yeah.
he's going back to his training. Now it's about, oh my God, this person's going to attack me. This person's going to hurt this person. This person's going to hurt that person. Not knowing the woman could beat the guy.
Right.
They didn't know
Yeah.
them things, but they just reacting on what they see opposed to knowing the neighborhood and really not knowing people. You have to really, really, like a couple of guys mentioned in the documentary, you have to really, it's no different than taking me and putting me in Utah in a predominantly white community. I have to learn that neighborhood. I may not be able to police in that neighborhood like White Boy Buster would.
Right.
So it's the same when they come here to the urban environment, which is much more dangerous. They don't really know, and it's hard. It's
It
scary.
is.
It's
It
scary.
is. It
It's real
is.
scary.
And I think that people forget that. Like on the police officer side, it is scary, you know? It
Yeah,
is.
it's scary. Oh my God. And that's why I tell people, if you go to that training, you'd be surprised how even nervous some police officers are doing some of the training. The shit is real. And I remember one situation we went to, I think the best training I ever had on a job was active shooter training. That's when you're training, that's when we have all them massive shootings going into
Mm-hmm.
trying to save kids. We went to that training, and that training was so real. One of the detectives who was in front of me, I ain't gonna mention no name, but he was so scared to enter the room. This is role playing, but it was so real. He was scared to enter the room.
Yeah.
We had to push him back because we were
Mm.
shooting. They were shooting paint. He was so afraid to go into the room. He ended up pissing in his pants because the situation scenario was so real. But he's never
Oh my
been involved in
goodness.
that type of environment before because he's been a detective his whole
Right.
life. He's from wherever he came. He's a white boy, but he was nervous. And we told him, we said, dude, man, you can't be like that on the streets, man. You
Mm-hmm.
got to react. He was afraid to get shot. He was afraid. He was
Mm.
just nervous. He didn't know how to, we like, dude, we gotta go in there and save the kids.
Yeah,
Man,
right.
he wasn't going in that damn room, and he did not go in that room, so we had to snatch him back. But he put
Mm,
all our lives in jeopardy if that was a real life situation.
yeah.
So being a
Um,
police officer is scary as hell.
so do you have to like take therapy before, or do you only have to do that if you've been through like a shooting or something, like something
Therapy,
traumatic? Yeah.
therapy.
Do
Back in the
y'all
day,
go
we no
through?
damn therapy. Hell no, we no damn therapy. You had to go right
Okay.
back on the damn street. Well, no damn. I mean, they may have all that stuff now. Because think about it. Even back in the day, for citizens, there wasn't a lot of emphasis on mental health.
Right.
It wasn't. I mean, things were different. I mean, think about it as a child. You fall off the top. You fall off the top of a monkey bar and you hit your head on the pavement. Your mother beat you. Your mother would beat your ass if you start crying. I'm just saying that's
Yeah.
how it was. And even with police, we just didn't get a lot of that trauma training. Or man, nah, man, you back out there.
That's kind of
It doesn't.
sad.
It's not sad. You sort of kind of get used to it. And I think the ones who really went through a lot, I think a lot of them end up resigning.
Mm.
But a lot of us, we just kept working, and you just got used to it because everything became a norm. Once things become a norm, it's just like when I talk to young people, when they talk about murder, they talking about it in a regular sentence, like it's them walking to McDonald's to get a
Yeah.
meal. That's what I'm saying. You get used to it. And that's how it is with a police officer. A lot of stuff you get used to, because once you see the worst of it all, the rest of it, it doesn't bother you. I've never had therapy. I've never had anything. And as of today, it still doesn't bother me because it just became a norm.
I was gonna ask you that. I was gonna ask like walking through crime scenes and things like that, like very traumatic and chaotic scenes. Like, does it change you as a person?
Nah, it doesn't, because it might sound crazy when I say this. When you're in a murder scene, you first of all, you concentrating on the crime scene. There's no doubt about it. So now, when you're in that murder scene, it's almost like the hunt begins. And I hate to say it this way, the hunt sort of becomes a turn on. You saying to yourself, "I'm gonna get this motherfucker." Excuse my
Right.
language. It's like a, I could say it's like a game, because I don't want to devalue human life. But you have to use whatever mechanisms you have within you to sort of help you get through situations. And for me, and I think for a lot of people, the hunt the hunt turned us on. Because this somebody just killed this person. This family over here crying. This person's laying on the ground dead, and this person is out here either celebrating or hiding. So now the hunt be motivation to get the person who did it. And you're not thinking about, you don't got time to be crying. I mean, I've cried with a lot of families. I've, you know, sat with them at the morgue and the funerals. But you have to separate that when you're doing the part of investigation, because you don't want to get caught up and do some improper things. And when you caught up, when you acting off emotions opposed to acting off the facts, because there are a lot of guys right now today who I know have committed a murder, and I couldn't get them, and we still speak. But
Mm.
because I have to go by the book, there's nothing I can do about it. It
Right.
might piss some families off, but the judicial system is set up that if you don't have evidence against a person, you can't touch them, and you can't take it personal. You cannot.
I also enjoyed the Benny Lawson portion of the
Oh,
documentary.
that was sick. Yeah, that was
And
sick.
I really felt their pain, like the detective's pain
Yeah,
on speaking on that day.
that was their first time speaking out. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
I kind of could tell. Yeah,
it was their
it
first
was a
time
lot of
speaking
emotion
out.
behind it.
And the thing about with me, I had just left because the white guy who survived, John, I trained him when he came, because he was on the task force. So I trained him how to do the things that we were doing. And I just left. My office was right beside that office. I just left. By the time I left that office and got to the front of the building, it occurred.
Mm.
So I don't know if I walked past Benny Lawson and them other dudes or whatever, but I'll say within a minute after I left that office, got to that front of that building, it occurred. And I had no idea why people were running around. I had no idea. I'm like, what the hell is going on? And then I went back, and that's when I realized what was going on.
Mm.
And I was like, whoa. And the way it was set up at that time, anyone could have came in and did what he did.
Wow.
anyone.
Wow.
Hmm.
I really wouldn't have thought that. I just thought like maybe it was a bad day. You know what I mean? Maybe it was like a day because I just heard something about a boy that got released from prison, and the minute that he was released, he went to like a bus station, but he got chased back onto the property and shot and killed. Like I can't like I thought it was like a bad day for them, you know? But
We didn't
mm,
have security. We didn't have security back then.
oh, okay.
Anybody could, well, you walk in that joint with a bazooka. If anybody
Mm,
paying attention, sure, we had no security. They didn't start putting security at the buildings until that day, after that day. It was a wake up call.
okay. Wow. Wow. What else? What else do I have to ask? Hmm. Hmm. Excuse me. So, what did make you like decide to be a police officer first and then a detective?
To be honest, I was broke. No, seriously, I was a young father. I did a lot of coaching youth basketball. I was going to UDC as a student. I had a daughter at the age of 19 years old, and her mom's used to like constantly, need, which I knew she needed this, she needed that. And even though I was taking care of my daughter with the little bit of money I was making, I knew she needed more.
Right.
So when I saw the announcement in the newspaper, I applied, didn't think I was going to get it because I got locked up as a juvenile doing some stuff I shouldn't have been doing. So I went through the process. They called me in. Then I found out the recruiter was my youth football coach. He the one that got me through.
That's good.
If he wasn't my recruiter, I wouldn't have got through. So I go through there, and I'll start. The first, I think maybe the first week, I started to quit because I wasn't used to that military stuff, the yelling, the screaming,
Right.
the get in line, attention hut, and all what the hell it was, the about face, left face, whatever. I wasn't used to that kind of stuff. And a lot of people who were in there were from the military, and I just sort of watched them and sort of try to pattern after them. And I was about to quit. But one day, the lieutenant had got on me real hard, and I was just like done because he was yelling and spitting in my face and all this and all that. But I remember him telling me that, don't quit. He said a lot of these guys here from the military, he seemed like, you're a guy from the city, and that's what we need on the job. We need people from the city who understands the people on the job. And I promise you, if you continue to go through the training, I promise you have a great career. Stick it out. And so I stuck it out, and I started getting used to a lot of the stuff. It was just like I couldn't keep my line straight on my shirt. I couldn't keep my buckle clean, my boot. I mean, come on, growing up in DC, you don't got time to be cleaning all that
Yeah.
stuff. You just throw on your tennis shoes and
Mm-hmm.
keep going. So I had to learn a lot of stuff that was uncomfortable to me, but that academy it made me understand and realize that, I wasn't built for the military. Yeah, I wasn't. Nah, no way.
And I think a lot of people think that going into the military is just like a get rich quick type of situation. You really got to have dedication and love for it, I feel like.
And the key is discipline,
Yeah.
consistency, but all that kind of stuff mature you into a better, for a man, for a woman. It helps you. And I think the police academy did that for me. It helped me understand and realize that, in life, you have to be responsible, follow rules, consistency, discipline. It all brought a lot of stuff that if you really ain't thinking like that. So it helped. I'm not gonna lie, it helped. But I really did not want to do it because I dreamed of being a police officer. The only police officer I've always admired or liked in the city were only the ones in the Police Boys and Girls Club. All the other police we didn't like because they would jump out on us, or they used to, they used to hit on us. They used to do things that we didn't like. But the ones in the Police Boys and Girls Club, they were like father figures to us, and that's what really pushed me to want to be a police officer because I wanted to be like them.
Yeah. Be more personable.
Yeah.
That's great. So, with all of the juveniles, well, a lot of them, I should say, being convicted of very serious crimes, do you think that it has gotten worse in today's time, or has it always been like that?
I think it's getting worse on a juvenile level as far as the violence. I would say the violent crimes. The only reason I say that is because it's it's really no it's really no structure out there on the streets. Like I mentioned in the documentary years ago, I could walk down any street. I could walk down the baddest street, the worst complex in the city, because I knew who all the bad people were. I knew those three over there were killers. I know those four over there were selling drugs. You knew that kind of stuff, but now it's so wide open and so unsure and just so crazy. I mean, I'm walking around there like I'm watching young people more today than I was before because I don't know if these young and strapped. I don't know if they're going to try to rob me. I don't know if they're going to try to rob someone else. So now the unknown is what makes me uncomfortable. And I think now today the environment with young people is just so much of the unknown is scary. So I think it's worse.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like it's very unknown and it's predictable on a violent scale.
Yeah, it is. It is. And like I say, now with social media, um, it's like a lot of young people are doing things because of social media.
Mm,
I don't know why they think it's like making a movie. All they're doing is
right.
creating evidence. All they're doing is creating evidence. But it's
That's
just
what
it's
I
just
try to
so much
tell them.
out there. And a lot of the older guys who you would think will be on the streets, a lot of them are just getting out of prison. A lot of them that have families, a lot of them that have jobs. They don't have time to be correcting other people's kids the way they used to correct us. Now
Yeah.
it's like, look, I'm done. I'm done with the game. So they don't like one of the young girls mentioned in the documentary. They don't want to do it anymore. They're done. So now a lot of these young guys out here are out there with no supervision, no mentors. It's like just a bunch of young people together just causing havoc, and they're relying on each other for instructions and man, it's for
Yeah.
advice. It's scary. It's
It
scary.
it is.
It's scary, but they're reachable because when they gave me 100 kids from Ward 8 in my summer camp for 6 weeks,
Mm.
and we didn't have not one incident.
That-
It can occur. They just need structure. So
yeah.
the first week, all we did was introduce them to what networking was, the importance of building relationships. Why are you going to need this person over? Because they used to always joke and kid around and joan on the little kids who may be smart or, nerdy or whatever. And I'd be like, dude, you better be friends with this dude. You gonna need a job one day.
Yeah.
His ass gonna own something. So it's just
Mm-hmm.
little small things like that where you want to be able to bridge gaps. And even when I broke them up in film groups, I made sure that the groups were mixed. So so the kids from different neighborhoods can work together. So the nerds can work with the so-called cool guys. I mean,
Right.
it's just a matter of mixing them. So it can occur, but if there aren't programs or people to be out there doing that, they're gonna keep running amok, and this is just gonna keep getting worse.
I agree. I agree. I try to stay out of the way as much as possible because you just never know. You
I
just really
know it's
never.
scary. Even
Yeah.
even when you want to help, it's scary.
Yeah.
It really is. And that's the sad part. There are so many people who want to help, but you have to think about yourself, your family, and you may walk up to a young person who may be tripping one day and they may rob you, they may shoot you, or you may be trying to prove something to one of their friends. I mean, that's why I always just said the unknown is scary. I'm afraid of the unknown, not afraid of the unknown. I'm just sort of kind of mindful it exists, and I watch everybody. I
Yeah.
don't when I'm in public, I don't walk around on my cell phone. Nah, when I'm at red lights, I'm not on my cell. I pay attention because if we don't pay attention, something can occur. You might even get hit by a straight bullet if you're not paying attention.
That's very true. Very true. Um, hmm. Let's see. Also speaking on police corruption, I like
Mm-hmm.
that that was a point of view in it, because usually I see that, you know, when police do wrong, like extreme wrong, you know, in communities, it usually gets swept under the rug by their
Mm-hmm.
peers. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it does. Mm-hmm. It
So it
does.
was good to hear like how they felt about it, and you know, the moment they heard basically.
Yeah. And the thing about it is, like, it's a lot of things that police do are not made public. So I only talked about the situations that I knew were in the media,
Mhm.
because a lot of the police officers make mistakes. A lot of police officers may do things that bring damage to themselves. They may drink too much. They may even get caught on drugs. They might do something that, they may get arrested. They may do stuff that affected them. But
Right.
we understood those things because we knew that police officers were just as human. But the one things that we could not accept, and the one thing we're not going to tolerate and deal with, was when you do something to the community, when you do something to a person, when you do something to set people up, when you do something to get people robbed, when you selling drugs, when you do things that affects the community, we looked at it much different than you may have a problem with something and you going through things. That's the things that you can get help for. But when you straight out do something to the community, a crime to the community, it's hard to accept that. We
Yeah,
didn't sign we didn't sign up for that.
I agree. I agree. Hmm. So, what is a lesson or two that you can give to my generation and the generation that is under me from your experience through life?
And I'm gonna tell you like this: your generation, first of all, your generation is brilliant. Your generation has more heart than my generation and the generation before me. Your generation is outspoken. They're not taking shit. They're using their voice. They're not just accepting anything. They're standing up. That's why when all this protest was going on, people used to be like, "You going?" Like, what the hell I'm going for? Let them young people. I'm impressed. My son, even he does a lot of things. So my thing is, when I saw a lot of your generation out there fighting for Black Lives Matter causes, or just all kinds of things, it made me feel good, because see, what happened was, growing up, the generation before me basically was like, if the police said you did it, you did it.
Hmm.
My father used to tell me all the time, boy, the police said you did it, you did it. I mean, when I got locked
Yeah.
up, I called him. I got locked up when I was a juvenile. I called him, he hung the phone up. He didn't give me time to explain what happened. It was the police said you did it, you did it.
Yeah.
So with my generation, then we come, now it's 50-50. Now it's, okay, the police, now we're going to like the police, but we have to get to know them. We want to trust them. They have to prove to them that we can trust them. So now it's 50-50.
Right.
But with your generation, y'all like, oh, hell no. We ain't taking this shit.
Mm-mm.
Because and that's what I love, because you all are standing up for a lot of things that my generation ignored and that the generation before me ain't even think about. And I think
Yeah.
that's major that you all are doing that. So I commend all of you young people who are leaders like that.
Thank you. And I definitely, it's definitely a challenge,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like it's a lot of people just expecting, or accepting, rather accepting, you know, the bad that has happened in the past and the reputation that DC has, just accepting
Yeah.
it. I don't want it to be like that forever, you know?
No, I
It's an
agree, and I agree.
uneasy, right.
I
It
agree.
makes me feel uneasy.
No, I agree. And that's why when I lecture to young people, I told them, it's nothing. Don't I said, you can question police. It's just how you do it. I said, you can talk to them any way you want to, but don't do the things. Don't do things to make them come up with that theory. I was in fear, and they should not be in fear if you're having dialogue with them.
Yeah.
Just keep your hands visible.
Hmm.
Don't be reaching all in your pocket or going all in your coat or digging in car. Stand there with them, eye to eye, man to man, or man to woman, whatever, and have dialogue with them. If you're upset, let them know that, but you're having dialogue and you're not going all crazy and reaching for stuff. Because one thing you don't want to do is for that officer to get in his mind frame, I was fearing my life. Now, when he get there, it's over. It's done. He's going to react. So
Right.
don't give him a reason to react. Give him a reason to listen. That's what I teach young people.
So did the closing of Lorton prison change the street culture in any way, do you think?
No, not really. Lorton was dangerous. It was, and see, the thing about it is, I don't know why they closed Lorton, because even now, when DC prisoners go to the feds, most of them are still together.
Yeah.
They're just in another location, but they're following under different guidelines. But Lorton was like a madhouse. Good God Almighty.
Mm.
Woo, Lord have mercy. There's so many stories. I know one filmmaker was doing a documentary on Lorton. I hope he's still doing it, because them Lorton stories were crazy. And that's the thing about it, because by me being in the cold case homicide, we used to visit federal prisons.
Mm.
And I laugh when I think about this stuff. All the federal prisons, I've been to many. All the federal prisons I go to, the warden, the guards, everybody be like, man, will you please get these goddamn DC prisoners out of here? The DC prisoners had no discipline.
Mm.
They weren't listening. They said they were just a different kind of person.
Yeah.
See, they were off the fucking chain. And not just because they said DC was just different. Most of the other guys in other communities or other cities, they were able to program them to be certain ways. They said, man, motherfucker, DC just off the chain. They said, them motherfuckers, they don't listen. They hard-headed as hell. No discipline, no structure, nothing. And I used to laugh because that's how it was when it was down Lawton. So they took the same mentality to the Fed. And that's why, DC guys, they full of energy. They full of energy.
That's for sure. That has never changed either.
Yeah, it's never going to change, because DC's just a different place. And I laugh because they'd be like, I'm serious. Every prison I went to, they say, man, please come get these DC damn prisoners. They are terrible, especially when there's so many of them. Like one prison I went to, I think it was in West Virginia. It was like 800 and something DC inmates in there. Now, what the hell you expect? I mean, hey, that's just how it is.
Yeah. Wow. So is it any one person or select few people, whether that be like in the community or one of your colleagues, that really impacted you, like on a, how can I put this? Well, I could say anybody in your community, like in the community, has anybody in the community really impacted you? Like it's something that you just can't forget?
I would say, I mean, just the young ladies in the documentary, Shamika, and I say that because what happened to her when she was 10 years old, and I was close to her, and dealing with her was like interacting with every kid that was in the Boys and Girls Club, because we didn't go all the way into her story for certain reasons, but just someone like her who went through what she went through and then is able to survive, able to raise her own family, has two adorable kids who are excelling in college, has another young son who's excelling in school, who's a good athlete. So people like that are the ones that inspire me, because they overcome the obstacles that a lot of people will say will cause them to fail. And people like that, when I see them now doing well, when I see young people who I used to coach in sports, even if they went to prison and they got out, now they're doing so well, that makes me feel good, because I'm like, oh man, I was part of that, So that's what inspires me to keep moving forward. That's what makes me feel good. And like so many young people who I've dealt with over the years, they're now coaching sports. A lot of them joined the police department. So just the young people who've always been under me are the ones that make me feel a certain way. I mean, people in law enforcement, they were pretty cool, but on a personal feeling, just the people in the community that I dealt with when they were young, to see them now, like even when I be working in summer schools, I run into kids who may have some discipline problems. Then when the parents come to the school, I'm like, God damn it, I know his father. So I'm there.
Oh.
So now I'm like holding for him. So now I'm like holding for him. I say, why you acting the way you acting? Because you the same damn way. So now I'm like, so just to see those things make me feel good because I can still be part of the chain that was created when they were babies. So now I'm dealing with a lot of the sons and daughters and granddaughters and grandsons of a lot of the kids that I dealt with, and it makes me feel good because it keeps me close to the community.
That's wonderful. So after the what is that called? The scandal within the police corruption situation, do you feel like because that was right around the time of the Rodney King thing, wasn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So do you think that it got worse? Like the public's view of police got worse during that time, or was it always like a tug and pull?
It got worse, but see the thing about it is a lot of stuff that goes on today, a lot of stuff was going on back in the day. It's just that a lot of the situations with police brutality um, in those neighborhoods, we used to fight. When we got the radio call for a certain assignment for a certain house, we called back because we know when we get there's gonna be a big fight. It was just a fight, but the thing about it is, it was so much fighting going on. No one was pulling guns and shooting people. There are times where people would beat our ass. I mean, that's just life. You can't fight, you can't fight. You lose, you lose. But the thing about it is, no one took any of that personal. If me and a drug boy got into a fight, the next day, he back on his block doing his thing. I'm back on my block policing. So like one day I was at a movie with my girlfriend, and one of the Jamaicans that said something to her. So the next day we go into the block. I told my partner, he said, Mitch, I was a rookie. He said, you got to handle that. So he took my gun belt. Me and the guy went in the alley and we fought fist to fist, man to man. We fight, boom, 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 boom. But I had to do that because if I didn't, then all the other boys in the block was not going to respect me. But he gained respect for me and I gained respect for him. And we ended up developing a good, police, drug boy, friendship, relationship, or whatever. But it's just that we should do things like that. And no one cried police brutality because we weren't killing people.
Right.
We knew that you had to fight. And if you didn't know how to fight, you waste your time becoming a police officer because you got to fight every day, But then I think when the Rodney King thing came around, the focus started, now everybody's looking at police shootings and police beatings and stuff. But the drug boys that we dealt with, they didn't want to complain on us. They like, man, we ain't no snitch. If,
Right.
y'all fight, take our drugs or take our money, whatever. We let it be because they didn't want us harassing them. They wanted to continue their
Yeah.
business. So it was a different era. But now, since there's no need for that because there's not a lot of drug dealing, now everybody photographing the police, taking videos. Man, but back then it was more community and police altercations than there probably is today. It's just that they weren't recorded, and most of them were fistfights. But
Yeah.
I think the Rodney King thing led to more of distrusting of no one wants to trust the police anymore. And then
Right.
now people started looking at white police officers and just it was so much was going on, and people, if they knew you, there were a lot of white police officers that a lot of the community knew, they trusted them because of the way the police officers treated them. We didn't have those issues that they were having in California. That was it wasn't no 20 police officers on one. No, you fought one on one. If you couldn't fight, you got your ass beat. And the thing about we got your ass beat, we let everybody know he got his ass beat. That's just how it was. All that. We didn't do that Rodney King stuff. No.
Mm-mm. Yeah, and I'm glad for that. I'm very glad that that did not happen here.
No, I don't. No, that didn't happen here. Them dudes, man, them DC dudes, them motherfuckers could fight. The women too. Them
Yeah.
families. I'm telling you, the families back then could fight. They
Yeah.
fought the police. And we lost a lot and we won a lot, but they fought the police.
And it's crazy that it's coming to a time where people scared to fight, but you're not scared to resort to grabbing something. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And I think people now are a little hesitant in doing that because even me, I'm a retired police officer. I don't want to get into a physical altercation with a police officer because I'm thinking, I mean, my biggest thing is this. I'm I'm more fearful of anyone that is armed, whether legally or illegally, that is afraid.
Definitely.
Afraid person with a gun to me is dangerous. I don't care if it's a citizen or a police officer. So my thing is, I don't. That's why I don't get into it with police because I know some of them are probably nervous as hell, and I'm
Right.
not going to sit there and get into a physical altercation. He or she feel as though they're losing, and they're gonna pull out a gun. I don't even. No, I ain't wasting my time. Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
If you can't take an ass whooping, you shouldn't be fighting.
That's very true.
We all got punched in the face. We all got sucker punched or knocked down. I mean, it happens. It's life. I mean, it's life on the streets. But today, it seems like nobody want to fight anymore.
No, oh no. Oh no.
And that's even the guys on the streets. No one wants to fight.
And I think it's a huge pride issue as well. A
Yeah,
lot of young people have a huge sense of pride, and it's like you can't walk around like that. It's just not gonna work. It's not
they're
gonna work.
emotional. They get their feelings hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's scary.
Yeah.
That's scary. It is because that's why even with my little daughter, that's why I tell her when she meet little young guys or talk to little male friends, don't 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 I don't want them young dudes arguing with you.
Mm-mm.
I don't, yeah, 'cause it's not no.
It's not
Dudes,
worth it.
yeah, it's not worth it. They're too emotional, and when people are emotional, the first thing they do is react,
Yeah.
and then they're sorry.
Right.
Yeah, so it's nah. It's yeah. Today is different.
Mm-mm. You're right about that. At first, like when I was growing up, I thought that like I was sheltering myself too much, but I appreciate it now,
Mm-hmm.
because it's just too many people my age that's not making it to the next year, that's not making it to the next day.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. No, I totally agree. And life is just so wonderful because I try to tell a lot of people now. I'm 50s. Damn, I be forgetting my age. I'm 57, and I'm having more fun in my life now than I did before at a younger age. And I'm enjoying life. I'm having fun. Taking chances. I'm exploring. I mean, I'm having fun. Even though I still have life responsibilities, I'm just having more fun, and I stay away from the things that may cause me to get in trouble. I stay away from people. But when you're young, you don't think about that kind. You just want to live. But
Hmm.
when you get older, you want to live, but you want to live not live the next day. You want to live the next day. So you sort of make better decisions, and that's what it just comes with maturity. That's all.
I agree. I agree. And I hope that, the guidance gets better. I hope that
Yeah,
parents start to step it up a little bit more in the city, because I think that's
yeah,
that's a
but
huge.
yeah, it's huge, but it's for some of them it's hard, and I think in order for that to improve, I think the communities need to come together more. You know, yeah, I don't see that sense of community in there. It's just saying like communities aren't, and maybe it's because the way the communities are put together now. People with gentrification, people being moved all around, people moved in locations where they're not familiar with. It's just so different. But when the community is a community, it's sort of kind of different. Everybody, you almost like police your own community. But
Hmm.
when you don't do that, it's hard to get family structure, community structure, and it's all just torn. There's no sense of pride. I mean, it's different. It's totally different. Because now neighbors don't speak to each other. There's no relationships.
That's true.
Yeah, they don't know each other's names. I mean, it's crazy. So families aren't going to get strengthened if communities aren't.
That's true. I agree. And I hope that does happen. Oh, excuse me. Ow. I hope that does happen. For anybody that hasn't seen 12 Years in Hell, can you give them like a brief overview of what you speak on in the film?
Mm. 12 Years in Hell documentary is a story about DC during the worst period of DC's history. We're doing a 12-year period. Over 4,600 people was murdered here, and during that time period, considered the murder capital of the world during the late 80s, early 90s. And the story is being told from their perspectives of guys on the streets, the families who lost loved ones, and as well as police. And I wanted people to get a sense of how everyone was dealing with it during that time period, opposed to just focusing on one of the groups. I wanted to focus on all three groups and just have a sense of how it was, and to help people understand that we don't have to go through that again, because especially today with the way technology is, the way there's more programs for mental health, there's just so many things for schools, and it's just so much is available now that society now don't have to relive the way we did. And it seems like it's almost about to get to that point. It's getting worse, and it doesn't need to get worse. And I just want the documentary to sort of kind of help educate new residents as well, educate new police officers, and as well as some of these young people, to let them know that, you don't have to do that. And I wanted all three different kinds of people in that documentary to show some type of unity. People from the streets, police officers, the family, show some type of unity, because today everything is so divided. Either you like the police or you don't. It's like there's no more middle ground with anything, and it's gonna get worse. It's scary, but like right now with the carjackings. Carjacking there is almost like a game. We done had 100 and some carjackings this year, and last year I think we only had about 20 during this time period. So now, by being pushed into the media a lot, now there's going to be more, because now other young people are hearing about it. They're going to start doing it. And I think we're just losing touch with a lot of things. And I just want the young people to know that, like in the documentary, listen to a lot of them guys that's in there. There's consequences for your actions. And that prison is not a nice place to be. And, they walking around here, freedom, they got money, spoiled brats, all this and all that. Nah, when they get inside the feds, their whole life changed. And why would you want to do 20 years in the feds when you could do 20 years out here help raising your son or your daughter with your baby mama?
That's true. That's true. And I really do hope that the younger generation really tunes in. I'm gonna do my part in pushing it out and do a separate video speaking on it, just so they know the importance of growing up here or growing up in environments like it. And so they really get the point. That's the whole thing. You have to get the point.
That's it. Just get the point. And that's a start. Just get the point, because it's, oh my God. And the thing about it is, and just because even the young people today are just so brilliant, young people, I've been learning how to edit film, and I'm still not where I want to be. When I start working with young people, they show me stuff that I've been trying to figure out for years. They just so technically advanced. Like my laptop, I can make beats. I don't even know how to make music. When I'm in school and dealing with young people, they say, "Man, watch out. They be making beats." I be like, "What?" So today's young people are just so advanced and so smart, but they need to channel that towards something. That's why with my nonprofit, we teach young people, how to take advantage of their skill sets and turn it into a business. Because if I can turn filmmaking into a business at the age of 52, whatever it is I was, just imagine what they could do at a young age. Just imagine when I meet young filmmakers today, they so brilliant and so smart. I'd be like, damn, I wish I could do that when I was 22 years old, Oh my God, I'd be a millionaire today, So, and that's why I teach them, take advantage of your skill set and turn it into a business. And a lot of them, they never heard of LLCs. Yeah. They don't know anything about taxes. It's just so much they don't know, and I wish a lot of that was being taught in schools, because, oh my God, I wish it was. None of it. Financial literacy, none of it. So that's what we do. We teach young people about all that kind of stuff, and hoping it can help them, how to use their money moving forward. Instead of buying $250 pair of Jordans, start your business first, then you can go buy 5, 6, 7, 8 pairs of Jordans, you know?
Definitely.
Yeah, so that's what we do, just something positive, and because we learn from our mistakes, we want them to learn from our mistakes so they won't make the same mistakes that we made.
Yes. And I wholeheartedly agree. Um, I'm gonna finish this documentary tonight.
Yes, it's pretty long, and just like with like some of the government agencies that contact me, I told them, if they don't really want the whole documentary, just take out parts that they feel as though they need for whatever it is they need it for. Like the police department may just take out the police stuff. The
Right.
people DRS may just take out the stuff dealing with the guys from the street. Just take out what you need, and if it can help police, if it can help guys on the streets, if it can help people in schools or whatever, just take what you want from it, because I couldn't, and the thing about it, I have so much more footage. So it's so much was related to me. I couldn't even put it all in a documentary, but I don't want to do anything else with it unless I get a call from a network or someone else want to do something with it. Then I'll consider it. But right now, I'm just going to leave it the way it is and just let people run with it and get what they can
It's
from it.
perfect. It's perfect. I
And I
like
appreciate
that
that.
it just explains, it hits every point that needs to be hit. Like it
Hmm.
being 2 hours, it needs to be 2 hours, just like the Titanic, you know? Like
Oh yeah,
we need to get it. We need to really
yeah.
get it. And I felt
Mhm.
like I was interested throughout the whole thing that I watched. And that's different. It's different because they always say that our generations have like a lack of a attention span.
Hmm.
That's how I knew that it was a great documentary.
I appreciate it, and y'all do have a terrible attention span.
A little
Y'all
bit,
want
a
y'all,
little.
y'all want y'all want y'all want 3-minute videos, so y'all can
Oh,
move
I
on.
hate 3 minute videos. I hate 3 minute, but yeah, they do. They do.
Yeah, that's just how it is. But I just wanted to tell you that when they told me I was going to talk to you, I did a little research on you. I looked at your YouTube page. I'm very impressed at how you get into the things you want to get into, and I would advise you to most, because I worked with and I dealt with a lot of the journalists throughout my entire career. I know all of the local journalists from back in the day, and you should really pursue it. I know YouTube and creating your own lane is most definitely what you want to do, but at some point, try to get with one of these networks. Be a correspondent. I mean, because you really have a knack for it, and I think you most definitely could be a person of color here locally that most definitely can get something like that started. Even if you started your own correspondent through some of the local little small stations like DCTV, just anything. Whereas you're building your resume to show that you're behind a professional push towards what you want to do. Because I really think you most definitely can do that on another level. Most definitely.
Thank you. I really appreciate
Yeah.
that.
A woman of color, and right now, women of color are dominating the industry. And when I saw you on your YouTube channel, I'm like, fuck. You can most definitely take advantage of it. Seriously, take advantage of it, because so many like BET, Her, and TV1, they're doing so much for Black women now. They're not even looking at us anymore. Sure, sure. And I don't have a problem with that, because the white men in Hollywood made the Black woman do that, because the white men in Hollywood was ignoring the Black women. So now these networks are really pushing and trying to accept things from Black women, and hey, take advantage of it. Do your thing.
I definitely will. I thank you for that.
Sure, you're welcome.
And thank you for talking to me today.
Yeah, you're welcome, and most definitely continue on doing your thing.
You too, for sure.
All right, now I got to figure out how to get off. I don't know how to get off. What I do?
I think I can click. Hold on. Let me see. I might end the whole thing. Hold on.
Oh, let me. I think there's X. No, I don't know. Is it X? Well, I'm gonna hit this
Yeah,
X.
it's the app.
All
Yeah.
right, take care now.
Okay, you too.
All right, bye bye.
Bye bye.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so if you guys have not subscribed to my channel, make sure. Oh, sorry. If y'all haven't subscribed to my channel, make sure that y'all do. Thank y'all for tuning into this live. There will be more in the future, but until then, I will see y'all on my YouTube channel. And the YouTube channel is B Octavia. B Octavia. Beotavia.